Transport and Communications as it was then. He served as Minister for Agriculture. He served as a Vice President. It matters not. Then eventually he served as the Deputy Prime Minister in the Nusumukata government. And now he is our Prime Cabinet Secretary. Welcome, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And let me also just say at the very outset, congratulations to all of you for being elected and also for being acknowledged by your respective parties and nominated to Parliament. Pongezi sana, and it may sound a little late, but Happy New Year to all of you. Asante sana. I will be quite brief to try and assist the Speaker in gaining on the time that he said we should try and help on. So I have a presentation which I'll make. I'll try and do it in about 15 minutes or so. But I've had the privilege of sharing it on soft copy with your secretariat here, so that at a later stage you can have time to interrogate it. And we'd be very happy to get your feedback after you've had that opportunity to interrogate it. Basically, when I was invited by the Speaker, I tried to figure out how to explain the linkage between Parliament and the Executive. And I thought I would be a little bit provocative. So I have titled my comments as Some Inconvenient Truths and Going Beyond Business as Usual. We have to start coming to terms with some of the new realities and to see how to operate. So, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Moses Masika Wetangula, the Assembly leadership, honorable members, and the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, Honorable Stephen Twigg. Mr. Speaker, this seminar has asked me to speak to the linkage between Parliament and the Executive. Ordinarily, this topic inadvertently invites me to first explain the role of the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and second, its linkage to Parliament. The convenient thing to do would be just to draw your attention to Executive Order Number 1 of January 2023, which outlines the functional roles of this office. And these are coordination and supervision of government ministries and state departments, overseeing the implementation of the national government policies, programs, and projects, chairing and coordinating national government legislative agenda across all ministries and state departments in consultation with and for transmission to the party coalition leaders in Parliament. I'll also be chairing the Principal Secretaries Committees and engage in the supervising and technical monitoring and evaluation of government policies and programs. I would then easily tabulate how these functions intersect with the roles of Parliament in legislating, representation, allocation of national revenue, and oversight roles that gel with executive roles of originating bills and implementation of legislation, policy formulation, and service delivery. However, to do justice at this important seminar, I have recently learned through a fresh happening in this forum and my own earthquake phenomena experience that sometimes you need to be destructive in order to construct. That change comes only after discomfort. I have therefore deliberately tweaked the title of my presentation, as I said, to read linkage between Parliament and the Executive, some inconvenient truths going beyond business as usual. Let me touch on some of the inconvenient truths. The Constitution is 12 years old. But how often, as leaders, have we or do we reflect on Chapter 6 on leadership and integrity? Specifically, the following articles. Article 73, responsibilities of leadership. 74, the oath of office of state officers. 75, conduct of state officers. 76, probity of state officers. 77, restriction on activities of state officers. 78, citizenship and leadership. 79, legislation to establish the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. 80, legislation on leadership. Further, how about Article 10 and its 17 national values? The obligations on representation of the people in Chapter 7, the fidelity of Chapter 12 on public finance, Chapter 13 guidelines on public finance management, and the subsequent laws that operationalize these chapters of the Constitution. If I dare ask, how many of us can recite 2 national values? The inconvenient truth is that these chapters and the articles in the Constitution on leadership activities are adhered to in default rather than in observance. Could it be that they escape our attention because they are inconvenient to our well-being? Let's take the following issues, for example. Corruption. It is no secret that corruption has been a persistent problem in our country. As leaders, we must be prepared to face it head-on. The second one is lack of political will. Often, we take political will to mean risk. In policy implementation, we hesitate to take bold decisions in the best interests of citizens, out of fear of the unknown or simply because a policy does not align with personal or political interests. The other thing is lack of transparency. Lack of political will is a cousin of lack of transparency in public processes. And lack of transparency has an uncle in corruption. When processes are opaque and not easily accessible to the public, citizens suspect incestuous relationships and cannot trust or even hold leaders accountable.